So let's talk a little bit really quick about ASB. You know what's still happening? Forging ASB documents is still happening. Circumventing internal controls, altering paperwork and receipts. Listen, when you're auditing, especially those of you who are brand new at auditing, junior staff accountants, you might be assigned to an ASB audit or a component of it. Remember, some of these cunning folks in ASB that are handling the money, they know many of you are under time constraints, so they might just chat you up to run the clock, and then you're going to run out of time to get your work done. It doesn't mean you have to be mean about it, but you definitely need to keep on task. And when you're going through all the paperwork and things that the ASB has, which they do have quite a bit of paperwork, be on the lookout for cut and pasted and unstraight edges, little things like that. Most likely in your entire career, you may not come across an ASB theft or any kind of theft, but you will have heard about it. And even though it may not happen to you, I've spent an entire career of looking at fraud and looking at how people commit these type of things. More importantly, I've spent a career exonerating folks that looked like they were stealing. Do you know what's worse than going to jail for committing actual fraud? There is something that's actually worse. It's called being accused of fraud and you can't prove it. This is why in ASB, I tell everybody the number one thing you have to remember is don't count money alone and don't transport money alone. Well, when you're auditing their cash count forms, you should be looking for dual signatures. That's an easy audit finding for ASB, and that's coming up. This year, I have my top 14 ASB audit findings that you should be aware of. So, altering paperwork or no paperwork for a transaction, that's an easy finding that you need to be writing up. Bank reconciliations being months behind, canceled checks are missing, journal entries or other typical transactions such as NSF fees. I'll talk about that later. There is an NSF fee scam going on where folks are actually have figured out a way to make a journal entry in the books to then hide that they got paid cash for the NSF fee and the actual sale within ASB. Outstanding deposits more than a few days. Okay, come on. I've seen this with audit reports where there's been a finding that said the deposits are still uncleared on the books for 1 or 2 months. Everybody in the room, how long should a deposit be before it should be cleared? How long should it be sitting on the books and the bank statement? If I deposit a bank deposit on Friday, and maybe there's a holiday on Monday, the longest a deposit should take to clear the bank is 3 or 4 days. If you're finding deposits that are not cleared weeks or, heaven forbid, months later, you have a serious problem because not every uncleared deposit means there's fraud. But guess what? In every fraud investigation I've had where there's been outstanding deposits out of the normal, it's been fraud. So it does happen. Your bank recs behind, those should be done quickly. Canceled checks are missing. If you're flipping through the bank recs and you don't see those microfiche copies of the canceled checks sitting there front and back, it means somebody could be hiding something. Again, it doesn't mean they're really doing fraud, but in the fraud investigations I've had, that means there's fraud. Journal entries, lots of journal entries is a telltale sign. Outstanding deposits, whole dollar amounts repeating, like you'll see 3,000 every month, 3,350 every month. Those are big signs.